My girlfriend hid her relationship with my friend. I thought I knew everything about her until I didn't. Honestly, when I first met Lauren, I didn't think much would come of it. College was wrapping up. I had a full-time job lined up in Chicago, and my social life mostly consisted of beer nights with my friend Ryan and the occasional weekend concerts. Lauren was different. She had this effortless energy that drew you in without you even noticing. She laughed at my dumb jokes, remembered tiny details about me that even I forgot, and somehow made me feel like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Fast forward 2 years, and I was head over heels. People around us, friends, coworkers, even strangers on the street, would comment on how perfect we seemed together. And honestly, I believed it. I still do. Sometimes, even thinking back. Our daily life was simple but meaningful. Mornings were usually rushed, me fumbling eggs while she sipped coffee and rolled her eyes at my cooking skills. I'd joke that she was more patient with me than anyone else, and she'd smack me lightly on the arm, grinning like I had just said the funniest thing in the world. Our texts were ridiculous, inside jokes only we understood. She'd send me memes with captions like, "This is so us," and I'd reply with something equally dumb, like calling her a professional overthinker, even though I knew she secretly loved that I noticed everything. Weekends were our sacred time. We had routines that made sense to us. Brunch at that little place on State Street, lazy walks by the lake, binge watching shows while she fell asleep halfway through every episode, me nudging her awake with a laugh every 5 minutes. Those moments felt like tiny bubbles of perfection. Nothing else existed outside of us. And then there was Ryan. Ryan and I had been best friends since high school, basically grew up together. He was the guy I could call at 2 a.m. after a bad day, and he'd come over with pizza and a beer without even questioning it. He was smart, funny in a sarcastic way that matched mine, and had this weird charm that made people immediately like him. But Ryan and Lauren, there was always something there. I couldn't put my finger on it at first. It was nothing concrete, just little things. The way he laughed a little too hard at her jokes, the way she leaned slightly into him during group pictures, or the way they exchanged glances that made me pause mid-sentence, wondering if I was imagining it. I trusted Lauren completely, so I ignored the subtle red flags. And Ryan, he was my best friend, the last person I'd suspect of anything. At first, the signs were almost laughable. Missed calls when she was supposedly at work, quick glances at her phone that made her smile and blush for no reason I could figure out. Sometimes, she'd claim she was running errands or helping a friend, but the timelines never quite added up. I chalked it up to being overprotective or paranoid. I told myself, "Relax, Ethan, you've got nothing to worry about." But humans are messy, and so are relationships. One Thursday night, we were sitting in my apartment, just chilling after work. I was scrolling through my own phone, half watching Lauren try to make sense of a new puzzle game she had downloaded. Ryan texted me, asking if he could come by for a quick chat. He said he needed career advice or something. No big deal. He'd come over plenty of times, and Lauren always hung out while we debated tech jobs, coding, or how much we were failing at adulting. What I didn't expect was Lauren's reaction when she saw the text. She stiffened slightly, tapping her fingers on the couch like she was trying to act casual but failing miserably. Is he coming now?" she asked, voice calm but a hint of something else I couldn't place. "Yeah, he said he needs quick advice," I replied. Nothing in my voice betrayed my concern because, honestly, I didn't have any. Lauren just nodded and went to the kitchen, supposedly grabbing snacks. I noticed her phone sitting face down on the counter. It wasn't unusual. She usually left it somewhere visible when we were together, but the way she fumbled with the chips, constantly glancing back at her phone, made me pause. Ryan arrived 30 minutes later and everything seemed normal at first. We joked, talked about work, shared a couple of beers. Lauren was there too, laughing at our nerdy tech puns, the three of us joking like it had been the same for years. But then Ryan got a phone call and stepped into the hallway. Lauren's phone lit up at almost the exact same time. I didn't see the screen, but the timing felt off. My chest tightened, but I shook it off. "Stop overthinking it, Ethan." It was Saturday when I first noticed something that really set off alarms. Lauren and I were out shopping downtown, just wandering in and out of small stores. She was scrolling through Instagram when I noticed a notification pop up from someone I didn't recognize. The preview said, "Can't wait to see you later." Her eyes darted to me, then back to her phone, a guilty little twitch in her smile. I laughed it off, saying, "Wow, mystery admirer, huh?" She laughed too, but it wasn't the same. The kind of laugh that doesn't reach the eyes. "Oh, just a friend from work," she said, swiping it away like it never existed, but something in me, something tiny, nagging, just didn't feel right. I remember that night vividly. We were lying on my couch, her head on my chest, me tracing circles on her arm. I felt this weird tension, a heaviness that had nothing to do with the blanket over us. "Lauren," I said softly, trying not to sound accusatory, "is everything okay?" She hummed, kissing the top of my head. "Yeah, why?" "You just seem distracted lately," I said honestly. She smiled, that warm, reassuring smile that had me fooled for years. "I'm fine, Ethan. Really, you worry too much sometimes." I nodded, hoping she was right, that I was imagining things. I wanted to believe that everything was perfect, because perfection was what I had built in my head. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered, Trust your gut, man. The next day, it got worse. I was at work and I saw a photo pop up on her Instagram story. A snapshot of Lauren at a cafe, sitting across from someone with dark hair, laughing. I squinted at the caption. There wasn't one. I didn't know who she was with, but the way they were leaning toward each other, the easy comfort in their body language, something in my stomach sank. I tried to brush it off as paranoia. Maybe it was Ryan. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I was reading too much into it. But I couldn't shake the feeling. I replayed every interaction in my mind. The subtle glances, the random bursts of text notifications she'd hide when I walked into the room, the way she sometimes smelled a little different when she came home. It wasn't concrete, but the seed of doubt had been planted. That night, I lay awake in bed, watching Lauren sleep beside me. Her breathing was steady, her face calm, serene even. I reached for her hand, feeling the warmth, and whispered under my breath, I hope I'm wrong. I didn't know it then, but that moment marked the beginning of everything falling apart. The perfect relationship I thought I had was never as perfect as I imagined. By the end of the week, I'd catch a glimpse of a text she quickly hid when I walked in. I'd notice Ryan showing up randomly, more often than usual. Little details stacked up, each one a tiny hammer chipping away at my confidence. And the thing about suspicion is, it's a fire that once lit refuses to die quietly. I didn't know what Lauren was hiding. I didn't know if Ryan was involved. I didn't know who to trust anymore. All I knew was that my perfect life was starting to feel like a puzzle where one piece didn't quite fit, and the longer I stared at it, the clearer it became that something was very, very wrong. By Sunday evening, I found myself staring at Lauren's phone for the first time when she left it unattended. Not out of curiosity alone, more like a creeping need to understand what was happening to the life I thought I had. A notification popped up. A message from Ryan. I froze. The preview read, "Can't wait for tonight." My heart stopped. And that was the moment when I realized the truth might be far uglier than anything I could imagine. I thought I knew everything about her, until I didn't. When your best friend starts looking at her the way you do, you can't unsee it. I wish I could say the feeling that gripped me that week was just paranoia. I wish I could tell myself I was imagining things, that my trust in Lauren and Ryan was well placed. But deep down, I just knew that something wasn't right. And once that seed of doubt is planted, it grows faster than you think. It started with the small things. Lauren had always been a little secretive about her phone, but lately it felt like a wall had gone up between us. She'd get sudden calls and texts she'd brush off with work stuff or just a friend, but her tone never matched casual words. She'd laugh, maybe roll her eyes, and then slip her phone into her pocket like she'd just committed some crime. And every time she did it, my gut sank a little deeper. I tried rationalizing it at first. Maybe she's stressed. Maybe it's nothing. I told myself I had no right to invade her privacy, no right to suspect anything without proof. But the truth is, my gut didn't lie. Ryan, well, he didn't make it easier. I started noticing him in ways I hadn't before. The way he would linger in her presence a little too long. The way his voice had this tone when he talked to her. Soft, teasing, almost intimate. The kind of voice you only use with someone you actually care about. And when he laughed at her jokes, it wasn't the normal, friendly laugh. It was something else. A private laugh, like a secret between them. I felt my stomach twist every time I saw it, but I also felt trapped. Ryan was my best friend. I'd known him longer than Lauren had even been on this planet, it felt like. I trusted him. He'd been there for me through everything. My parents' divorce, college stress, even the time I screwed up at my first job and almost got fired. He was family, in a way. But now, seeing the way he looked at her, seeing the way she responded, leaning in just a little closer when he made some stupid joke, I couldn't unsee it. And that's when doubt turned into obsession. I began observing them more closely. I didn't stalk, not exactly, but I noticed details I hadn't paid attention to before. Like the way Lauren's phone would buzz when Ryan texted. Just a single buzz, quick enough that she could pretend she didn't hear it. Or the way Ryan would accidentally show up at my apartment, or the coffee shop we all went to just after she said she had plans. Coincidence? Maybe. But coincidence stacked on coincidence starts to feel deliberate after a while. One night, it hit me like a sucker punch. We were all at a small party hosted by some coworkers. Nothing fancy, just drinks, music, and casual conversations. I noticed Lauren laughing at a joke Ryan told, but the way she looked at him, her eyes lit up in a way they never did with me. It was subtle, almost easy to miss, but I saw it. And Ryan caught my gaze for a split second and smirked, like he knew I saw it. That smirk, that's what broke me. I tried to convince myself it was nothing. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was being ridiculous, but my mind refused to let go. Every time Lauren brushed past me, every time Ryan's hand lingered on her shoulder, by accident, every hidden text notification, I saw them in a new light. And it wasn't just physical stuff. It was the little emotional cues too. The way they would joke privately in corners of rooms I wasn't part of. The way she'd lean into him for advice on things she didn't even tell me. And when I asked about it, she'd give me that same smile. The one that's supposed to reassure you, but instead makes your gut churn. I remember one night vividly. We were all at my apartment watching a movie. I went to grab popcorn from the kitchen, and when I came back, Lauren had her head on Ryan's shoulder. Not lying down, just casually leaning, enough to make my stomach twist. They were whispering, laughing softly, sharing some inside joke I wasn't part of. I froze, half hoping they hadn't noticed me. They did. Ryan's eyes flicked to me, and I swear I saw the same smirk again, like he was silently saying, "Too late, buddy." After that, I started replaying every interaction over the past months. Every friendly hangout, every time she stayed late at work, helping a friend, every text I didn't see until she showed me. Everything. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, but the pieces weren't fitting together. Something was hiding behind those perfect smiles and cozy nights in. The paranoia started creeping into my daily life. I'd catch myself checking her social media, noticing the little things she didn't post. Friends tagged in photos I didn't recognize, comments that fell off. She would sometimes disappear for hours and come back smiling like nothing happened. But my mind kept racing. Where was she? Who was she with? And then, one afternoon, I saw it. We were having brunch at a cafe near my apartment. I was scrolling through my feed when Lauren's phone buzzed on the table. She picked it up casually, smiling at something on the screen. And there it was. Just a glimpse. Really. But enough. Enough to make my blood run cold. A picture. Lauren and Ryan, sitting close at some coffee shop. Ryan's arm barely brushing hers. Both of them laughing like they were the only people in the world. The caption was vague, a simple emoji, but my chest tightened so fast I almost dropped my phone. I don't think I realized I was holding my breath until she looked up at me, smiling that same warm smile. "What?" she asked casually, as if nothing had happened. "Nothing," I said, forcing a smile, even though my hands were shaking. But inside, something snapped. I couldn't ignore it anymore. My trust, my friendship, my love, it all collided in a mess of confusion and hurt. I wanted to scream, to ask her to explain everything, to demand the truth, but I also didn't want to be that paranoid boyfriend. I didn't want to be the guy who sees betrayal in every glance. Still, my gut refused to let it go. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to Lauren breathe beside me. I wanted to believe in us and the life we had built, but every laugh she shared with Ryan, every text she hid, every tiny secret, it was a thorn in my chest I couldn't remove. I felt like I was trapped in my own life, watching the people I loved slip through my fingers while I convinced myself I was imagining things. I started questioning everything about my relationships, not just with Lauren, but with Ryan too. Was he the friend I thought I knew, or had I just been blind? Had I missed the subtle signs all along? My mind went in circles, flipping through memories, replaying conversations, analyzing tones, gestures, every smile. The more I analyzed, the more I felt like a fool for trusting them both so blindly. And then the gut-wrenching hint arrived. I was walking past my apartment's living room. Lauren's phone left unattended on the counter while she showered. Curiosity and dread warred inside me, but I couldn't resist. I glanced at the screen. A notification from Ryan lit up the lock screen. "Can't wait to see you tonight." I froze, staring at the message as if it burned my eyes. My chest felt heavy, my stomach knotted, and a sharp, sudden clarity hit me. The pieces weren't just suspicious coincidences anymore. There was something real, something hidden, and whatever it wasn't something I was meant to see. I sat down, heart pounding, and realized I couldn't ignore it any longer. I couldn't pretend everything was perfect. I couldn't trust my instincts when they were screaming at me to see the truth. And the worst part, I still loved her. I still trusted Ryan. But now, that trust felt fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a table. One wrong move, one lie, and everything could shatter. That night, as Lauren emerged from the shower, humming softly, I smiled at her like nothing had changed. But inside, I knew it had. My perfect world had begun to crack, and I had no idea just how deep the fracture ran. And I had a sinking feeling I was about to find out. I thought I'd known betrayal, but nothing prepared me for this. By the time I pieced everything together, I was already exhausted. My mind had spent weeks spinning in circles, second-guessing, rationalizing, obsessing. I had tried to convince myself that I was imagining things, that my trust in Lauren and Ryan was well placed. But that gut feeling, the one I had tried to silence, had been screaming at me for weeks. And one night, it hit me like a freight train. It was Saturday. I had gone out with a few coworkers, trying to distract myself, but my phone buzzed constantly, pulling me back into the world I was trying to escape. A text from Lauren. "Hey, are you home yet?" I replied with a quick, "Yeah, why?" even though I already knew the answer. I had been home for an hour, pacing, trying to calm the storm in my head, and then another text came, from Ryan. "Meet me at the usual spot." My chest sank. That was it. That was all I needed. The puzzle pieces finally fit together, and the picture they formed made my stomach churn. I knew where Lauren was, I knew who she was with, and I knew that my worst fears had been right all along. I grabbed my keys and drove. My hands were shaking so badly that I almost swerved. Every mile felt like an eternity. Every red light a countdown to heartbreak. I didn't even care if I was rational. I just needed to see it, to confirm that what I had suspected wasn't a product of my paranoia. When I pulled up to the small coffee shop by the lake, our old favorite spot, ironically, my heart stopped. Through the window, I saw them, Lauren and Ryan, sitting close, laughing like they were the only two people in the world. His hand brushed hers, not casually, not by accident, but intentionally, comfortably, like they belonged to each other. And the look in her eyes, God, the look in her eyes. I couldn't breathe. I slammed the car door, not caring if anyone heard. My hands were clammy, my chest tight, and I felt a dizzying mix of anger and despair. I couldn't even speak to myself. I just knew I had to confront them. I stormed into the coffee shop, heart pounding, words sticking in my throat. Lauren looked up, surprised, her smile faltering. Ryan's smirk disappeared the second he saw me. And then everything exploded. "What the hell is this?" I yelled, voice shaking. People turned to look, but I didn't care. My world was collapsing, and I needed answers. Lauren's face drained of color. "Ethan, wait, I can explain." "Explain?" I laughed bitterly. "Explain what, Lauren? That you've been lying to me for weeks? That you've been seeing my best friend behind my back?" Ryan stood up, looking nervous now. "Ethan, it's not like that." "Not like that? Really, Ryan?" "Because from where I'm standing, it looks exactly like that." My voice cracked, and I felt tears burning in my eyes. "You were supposed to be my best friend. You were supposed to have my back, and you do this?" Lauren's voice was soft, almost desperate. "Ethan, please, you have to understand. It wasn't planned like this. Wasn't planned? 2 years of us, Lauren, 2 years. And you think this wasn't planned?" My hands were shaking so badly that I had to grip the edge of the counter. I couldn't comprehend it. My heart was screaming, my mind was screaming, and I couldn't tell where the hurt ended and the anger began. Ryan finally spoke, his voice low. "Ethan, listen. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. I didn't know it would hurt you." "Didn't mean to hurt me?" I shouted. "You're joking, right? You think sneaking around, lying, hiding texts, that's not meaning to hurt me?" Lauren reached for my hand, but I pulled it back violently. "Don't touch me. Don't. I trusted you. I loved you. And this is what I get?" They both tried to speak at once, but I couldn't hear them. All I could feel was a betrayal, the suffocating weight of being lied to by the two people I cared about most. And then it hit me. The double betrayal. Not only had my girlfriend betrayed me, but my best friend had too. The person I had confided in, the person who promised he'd always have my back, had been the other side of this lie. I stumbled out of the coffee shop, ignoring the stares of strangers, ignoring their calls after me. I ran to my car, slamming the door, and just sat there. My chest heaved, tears blurred my vision, and I felt utterly hollow. I kept thinking back to the small moments, inside jokes, lazy afternoons, casual touches. All of it felt like a lie now. The days after were worse. Mutual friends started noticing. People took sides. Some whispered about what really happened, while others tried to comfort me. I felt isolated, as if my world had shrunk to nothing but anger and heartbreak. Every corner of my life reminded me of them. Every little memory twisted into a dagger. I confronted them separately over the next few days. Lauren cried, apologized, tried to explain it as some kind of complicated mistake, a fleeting connection that meant nothing compared to what we had. Ryan talked about jealousy, about emotions he couldn't control, about how he hadn't meant to hurt me, but it didn't matter. It wasn't enough. Words couldn't fix this. Words couldn't undo the months of deception. The trust shattered into pieces I couldn't glue back together. Even my nights were torture. I would lie awake, imagining conversations, replaying moments, trying to pinpoint when it had all started. Was it a year ago? 6 months ago? The realization that I'd been blind, completely blind, made my head spin. I had trusted them. I had loved them. And now, nothing felt real anymore. Friends started calling me, some offering sympathy, some taking sides. It was exhausting. Every message felt like another reminder that my life had been upended. People I had counted on for support suddenly felt like strangers. And the one person I wanted to talk to most, Lauren, was the one who had betrayed me. And yet, amidst all the chaos, there was a small, bitter part of me that wanted closure. I needed to understand why. I needed to know how they could do this to me, how they could laugh, talk, and hide secrets while I trusted them completely. One night, I finally got the proof I couldn't ignore. Lauren had left her phone on the counter while she showered, and Ryan had sent another message. This time, it was different. A photo. A photo of them at my favorite cafe, sitting impossibly close, smiling like nothing existed but each other. The caption was nothing, just a simple heart emoji. But the message was clear. They had been meeting behind my back for weeks, months even. I stared at it, my hands shaking, my heart breaking. The realization hit harder than I could imagine. My girlfriend, my best friend, both of them. Lying to me, laughing, joking, sharing moments that were supposed to be mine alone. And that's when I felt it, the cold, raw edge of betrayal. It wasn't just anger, it wasn't just sadness. It was disbelief, shock, and a deep, gnawing ache that settled into my bones. I had loved them both. I had trusted them both. And now, they were gone from the person I thought I was. I didn't speak to them for days after that. I didn't answer calls or texts. I didn't log into social media. I just sat, numb, replaying the proof over and over in my mind. Friends visited, but I couldn't handle their pity or their questions. I felt like I was living in some alternate reality where betrayal wasn't a concept in books or movies, but a crushing, inescapable truth. And yet, even in the isolation, even in the heartbreak, I couldn't stop thinking about them. The anger, the pain, the disbelief, they were all tangled up with love. I wanted to hate them completely, to erase every memory, but my heart refused. Chapter 3 didn't end with answers. It ended with questions. Questions I didn't want to ask but couldn't ignore. Questions about trust, friendship, love. and the devastating truth that sometimes the people you hold out closest are the ones who hurt you the most. I had been double betrayed, and there was no going back. Losing them hurt more than I thought, but finding myself hurts less than I expected. The first few weeks after everything came crashing down were empty. Numb, really. I didn't cry all the time, though I wanted to. I didn't scream or rage, though the impulse was there. Mostly, I just existed in a kind of fog, moving through the motions of life while my mind replayed every betrayal, every lie, every laugh that had been stolen from me. I stayed at my apartment, ordering takeout, binge watching shows I had loved with Lauren, and scrolling through messages I hadn't deleted because part of me thought, no, hoped, maybe one day it would all make sense. It didn't. Not at first. It was during one of those long, hollow nights that I realized something important. I had been so focused on them, on what Lauren did, on what Ryan did, on how they had broken me, that I had completely ignored myself, my own feelings, my own boundaries, my own needs. And that was my first step toward healing. I started small. I went for runs. I joined a local climbing gym. I even reconnected with friends I had pushed aside. People who weren't involved in this mess, people who genuinely cared. At first, it felt awkward. I felt like I was pretending to be okay, but the more I pushed myself, the more I realized that these little things weren't just distractions. They were reminders that life still existed outside of pain. I kept a journal. I wrote every thought, every flashback, every pang of anger, sadness, or longing. Some nights I couldn't stop writing. Pages filled with questions I didn't have answers to. Why did I ignore the signs? How could I have been so blind? Did I deserve this? The act of writing was cathartic. It forced me to confront myself, to look at my own mistakes and weaknesses, and to acknowledge them without judgment. And slowly, painfully, I started to see patterns. I realized I had been too trusting. Not in a healthy way, but in a way that allowed people to manipulate my kindness. I had ignored the subtle signs because I wanted the world to match the version of reality I had built in my head. I had wanted my perfect relationship so badly that I convinced myself that warning bells were just noise. Facing those truths was humbling. It hurt. A lot. But it also made me stronger. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a person who could learn, adapt, and grow. After about a month, I felt ready to confront them. Not to beg, not to cry, not to demand anything, but for closure. I needed to hear the truth, one last time, on my own terms. I called Lauren first. She hesitated when she picked up, her voice soft and wary. Ethan, what do you want? Closure, I said simply. I don't want to fight. I just need to understand, one last time. There was a pause, then she sighed. I'm sorry, Ethan. I never wanted to hurt you like that. I know, I said. I don't need apologies. I just need honesty. Why? Why, Ryan? Her voice cracked. I don't know. It just happened. I never meant for it to go this far. I love you, but I was confused. I wanted attention, maybe more than I should have. I know it doesn't make sense. And just like that, it all made sense and didn't at the same time. Painfully human, messy, real. I hung up without saying much else. I didn't need to. Hearing her voice, her confessions, confirmed what I already knew. It wasn't about proving she was wrong or blaming her anymore. It was about finally letting go. Ryan came next. I met him at a quiet park near the lake. No one around, just the sound of water and leaves. He looked nervous, guilty, ashamed even. And maybe that was enough. I'm sorry, Ethan, he started. We messed up. I never wanted to hurt you. I know, I said. I don't need excuses. I just needed to hear it from you. He nodded. I got caught up. I let feelings get in the way. I don't even know how it happened. I just made a lot of mistakes. Yeah, I said, voice quiet. You did. We sat in silence for a long time. It was uncomfortable, but necessary. The tension was thick, but the conversation allowed me to separate myself from the anger that had been consuming me. I realized something crucial. I could forgive without taking them back into my life. I could accept that people are flawed and move forward without carrying their mistakes as my own burden. From that moment on, things started to change. I focused on myself more intentionally. I trained harder, read more, traveled for work, and even started dating casually again. Not because I wanted someone to replace Lauren, but because I wanted to remind myself that life could be exciting, rewarding, and joyful again. The friends who stuck around, the ones who offered real support without judgment, became my anchors. I learned to rely on people who actually cared, who didn't have hidden motives or secret agendas. That realization, more than anything, gave me a sense of peace I hadn't felt in months. I also learned to trust myself again, my instincts, my feelings, my ability to read people. I had doubted them for so long, letting myself get blindsided, but I discovered that I wasn't as naive as I thought. I was cautious now, wiser, more careful about who I let into my inner circle, and that didn't make me cold. It made me resilient. Months passed. I didn't go out of my way to confront Lauren or Ryan after that park conversation. I didn't need to. Closure had been found, not through arguments or recriminations, but through acceptance. I realized the power wasn't in punishing them. It was in reclaiming my own life, my own narrative. And eventually, life started feeling lighter. I met new people, explored new opportunities, and rediscovered passions I had ignored. I laughed more freely, without the lingering shadow of betrayal hanging over me. I loved again, cautiously, but genuinely. And every time I felt that old anxiety creeping back, I reminded myself of the lessons I had learned. Trust wisely, value yourself first, and never ignore the small red flags. One evening, I walked by the same cafe where I'd seen them months ago. I didn't feel the sting of betrayal anymore. I felt clarity, a quiet sense of strength. I had survived heartbreak, deception, and isolation. And more than that, I had grown from it. I realized something powerful. Losing them hurt more than I thought, yes, but finding myself hurts less than I expected. Because in the wreckage of lies and betrayal, I found my resilience. I found my voice. I found the part of me that could exist independently, wholly, without anyone else defining my worth or happiness. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free. I'm Ethan Carter. I was betrayed, I was hurt, but I survived. And now I'm ready for everything life has to offer. Unafraid, unapologetic, and stronger than ever. All right, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. We have so many more amazing stories coming your way, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to reach 100K subscribers by the end of this year, and we'd love for you to be part of this journey. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.